the fact that we have so much access to so many different interviews from the guys that did work with these amazing artists that are the mixers on those projects, and we get to hear them talk about the stories from all these different interviews, is amazing. I mean, the access we have is truly amazing. Manny Marroquin, the last 2 days I've been talking about him, and before I get accused of riding him too hard, I just want to let you guys know there's this one I have to drop, because this is something I've talked about before, about how perfection is not one and the same with music. You'll get a lot of people who might tell you perfect, you know, is you can still do perfect and it has a feeling and it has whatever. This is one of those things where I don't believe that's true. Perfect as a concept is not good to me. There's got to be a line drawn, because the people that think that, I'd venture to say, some people could come in and be like, well, this isn't perfect, this isn't perfect. You think it's perfect. The people that think perfection is the thing, there's still things we could point out that aren't perfect within them. So I don't agree that perfection is a thing we should be striving for. We're going for an emotion. We're going for feeling. And when we all learn that is at different times. When Manny Marroquin learned it, it was when he worked with Alicia Keys. Now, she was 17 years old at the time, and you got to hear this story, and then I'll abandon ship on the Manny stuff for the moment, because there's other people out there we got to hear from, and there's other things to talk about, but this was just so great, so I got to share it. It's worth sharing. This could change your life as a mixer, just like it did for him. And it did for me, too, once I realized that fixing isn't the goal. All right, so here we go. Fair use for teaching purposes, fair use for teaching purposes.
Anyways, I'm mixing the song, and very early in the day, you know, our auto-tune is this H3000. I don't remember, we tune, detune, punch, detune, punch. We had to go through the whole song and fix, and I just became really fast at it. It would take me maybe 10, 15 minutes to tune the whole song, right? And then when I heard it, I was like, oh, there's some pitchy notes. Let me just fix them real quick. Boom, 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 boom. And, you know, you would copy the track so you have a map, safety of it and all that. So I had my, quote, tune vocal. And that was early in the day, maybe around noon when I first got in. Mixed, you know, the whole song. It was a beautiful, beautiful song. She comes in around 9, 10, with Carrie Crucial, the producer. They're playing the song. This is the first time I met Alicia. And she listens to it and goes, wow, Manny, this is great. I love the mix. This is so good. I wouldn't change a thing, which is so rare, right? To like have someone just not have a single comment. And maybe she was just being nice because it was the first time we met. And but she was, but then she's like, you know, let me listen to it again, because there is one thing that I just don't know what it is. But play it one more time. Played it again. Like, again, the mix is great, but there's something with my vocal, you know. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe, you know. And I'm looking at the desk, right? And I'm like, oh, I got maybe some reverb, maybe a slap delay, and maybe a slight harmonize. Let me take them off. No, put it back on. Okay, that's fine. I don't know. It was maybe a treatment, maybe it's an EQ, maybe it's this, and I'm trying to get it out of her, and she's like, no, it's like, so I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hang on. When I first came in, oh, let me patch around. I fixed a couple of tuning notes, you know, but I have forgotten. Not that I was trying to, you know.
Yeah, it was just something you did on every mix, really.
Every mix, yeah. So then I play her that, and she goes, boom, that's it. That's what I want. And this is where one of those moments that I'll never forget. This 17-year-old kid telling me this. She goes, well, Manny, so check it out. So I didn't go to school. I'm not an expert at speaking English, and like I'm not an English major, and like, so what I want to do is I want my fans to connect with me for who I am. So if there is a pitchy note here and there, then that's to me saying that I'm not perfect, and that is why the record is special to me. Me up to this day. I'm like, so the pursuit of perfection, what does that mean to a young mixer was fixing? You know, we always joke we're fixers, not mixers. And to me, from that point on, it changed my entire mixing career on the pursuit of what perfection is. Here's like what I think was off, I'm fixing. But yeah, she's telling me that is what the emotion is supposed to be about. And as a young mixer, man, changed my life. Till this day, I take that approach on. There's no such thing as perfection. It's about emotion. And this 17-year-old kid is teaching me this, you know.
Right.
And that first time I met her, and from that point on, we worked on, gosh, 5, 6 albums, you know.
Your taste governs what you do. Now, if you're the type of person who insists on everything being all locked to a grid, that's your taste. You've determined that you like that. I'd say you probably have to listen to more stuff before there was a grid to really develop your taste so that you now can allow to seep in things that aren't like that. Because anybody who thinks that that all music is one way and that everybody out there today is doing hard auto tune and all this, so in order to fit in with them, I need to do it too. In order to fit in with all this perfectly gridded stuff, I need to grid my stuff. I'd venture to say you're actually very misguided in what it is that makes great music. The stuff that makes great music is the emotion, is the connection with it. That's what it is. So it doesn't matter what your genre, in my opinion. You can stray outside of what other people are doing, and you don't have to be afraid to do it. I'd venture to say that if you do that, you will get further. You will actually get your stuff to be unique. And that's the goal. I mean, even when you think about like Dilla time, you know, Jake Dilla's doing the stuff he's doing with the beats, which nobody was doing, you know, before that. And it made him sound unique and great, and people now want that. I mean, that's like a sound. And prior to that, everything was super gridded. And prior to that, before the grid and all that, nothing was gridded. So, I mean, it's, if you think about it, the way you want to do is actually play outside the norm. Look where the lines are and go beyond it. Now, this is taste to the umpteenth power. Like, what your taste is determines what you will do. So in my opinion, the ones of us who could be the most open-minded, we allow the most in. We like the most genres. We are accepting of music that might even be bad. If some people call it bad, that's just their opinion of it. But if you could find things to like in anything, that's kind of the goal. It's almost like, I look at it like working out. You should listen to stuff you don't like and look for things you like. Look for things to like within the stuff you don't like. Don't just dismiss it, because by dismissing it, you're actually shutting off the possibility of learning anything from it. So if it was me, and this is something I used to do when I used to go see live bands all the time. I used to really enjoy bands that weren't technically good because I'd get something from it. I would look for something to get from it that I could learn from, anything. And this is, you could do it by listening to music on Spotify or you know, YouTube music or whatever. I mean, you could do it in a number of ways, just surfing SoundCloud. You could find things to like about a lot of different things. You may get ideas in the least likely places. And something else I need to mention is this concept, though. What he said about this, a very deep reason to not want your vocal tuned. In other words, that goes way beyond, you know, you just don't like the sound of auto-tune. It's a much deeper and better understanding that you want your fans to connect with who you are. Especially in the time today of AI, when everything is so perfectly tuned and like just robot voices all over the place. There's a real benefit, in my opinion, to actually going back to before this stuff happened. I think people are starting, if not already in droves, they're gonna get there where they actually appreciate that more. That's this kind of stuff that's timeless to me. When I listen to old school music that just sounds great without the tuning, I love it today. And I don't think that's just me. I think there's a lot of people, especially younger people, who are going to start to get sick of this stuff. And the stuff the computer can't get right is that fingerprint that you get, that gets put onto the song because there's a real human being behind the vocal, behind the instrument. That's the truth. The human element is not something the computer can do perfectly. It can't. Just watch AI try to generate people dancing and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a whole thing where they can't, it's just, it ain't quite right just yet. And that's what I'm saying is like the human imperfection and the way it's imperfected is the brilliance, is the greatness. That's actually also why when I mix a song and somebody might, you know, do something timing wise, you know, that's a little outside the norm or something like that, I generally don't fix it unless it's bugging me like crazy. And that bugging me like crazy, my filter is set in a certain way from all the stuff I love that I've put in there to be able to set my filter in the right way. In other words, it's not just a one-way filter. It allows for different things. It allows to take into account the groove of the song, the emotion, the feel of the song. Does this being a little rushed here help? Does it hurt? What's it doing? You know, I'm always thinking in this way. I'm never thinking, where's the grid lines and now I should move all this stuff to that. So this plays into something else I want to say real quick, which is you got to have the communication with your person you're mixing for. The artist and you need to be somebody that you guys got to be able to communicate with each other. Because if you're dealing with somebody who won't communicate with you, it's impossible to guess all these things. And even if they think they want something, you may think it sounds better another way. And then all it takes is a conversation in order to change that. But if you can't communicate with them, they're expecting you to guess right all the time when it comes to things that are super polarizing. Like, you know, you like the mixer likes a natural sounding tuning on the vocals so you can connect with the artist. But the guy whose song it is wants it to be hard tuned because that's what all the stuff he listens to sounds like. So that's what they want. So I'm saying it's like, depending on who you're dealing with, what their taste is, where they're coming from, you guys got to get on the same page. Otherwise, you wind up doing a lot of stuff, a lot more work potentially to make it sound natural, to make it all. And they wanted it to be hard, you know, T-Pain auto-tune from the Day style or something. They want that hard robot tune. So you got to, there's a big element of figuring that out. Also with timing, some people will be okay with you manipulating the time to make it fit with the band in a way that makes sense to you. But some people maybe have done that on purpose. The more you get when you're on the level of excellent, you know, real true pros, they could be doing things on purpose that sound to you like it's out of time because you're just not totally connected with what they're doing. But they could have done it on purpose. There's another reason why you can't just go in and fix stuff all over the place, because you'll be dealing with somebody who's like, why'd you do that? I was going for a rushed feel here. Why did you make it not rushed? Like, what's up with that? You know, you turn me from doing what I'm doing to doing what, like, some band they don't like is doing. And that's the point. There's so many things we do. I talk about it a lot, the permutations, the amount of possibilities. It's actually what drives me to love this as much as I do, is because of all that. But a little communication is very helpful. Dave Pensato has a bunch of questions he would ask people before he works on their song. One of which is, what do you expect to get from this song? Like, what's your goal here? And if somebody were to tell him they want everyone to like it, he would often say, sorry, I'm not the guy for you. Can't do it. Because first of all, he knows that that's not really something that's possible. And second of all, he also knows that he's going to put his taste and his style into it. And there's ultimately always going to be some people who love it, some people who don't. But if the goal is where we can match my taste with your taste, and our goal is to achieve an organic sounding record where people connect with the artist, and that means this or that, he sort of fleshes all this out by asking those questions. So there's a way to get to the bottom of stuff. You know, you really have to ask more questions, talk a little bit. That's why I always encourage a phone call prior to working on a song. You need to have a call to really understand exactly what they want, exactly what you're going to do, and try to get on the same page. Hear them talk, hear what they're about, hear what they want. You know, and if they're very, abstract about what they want, gotta kind of focus them in on what you need to understand, not what they're saying. Because some people will just tell you how great they are and tell you about all the stuff that, how amazing they are and everyone's going to love. They'll sort of direct you down this path of excitement. And it's not the excitement you're trying to get to the bottom of. It's who they are and what they like and what their taste is and what you should be doing on your end in the moments that are super polarizing, like tuning, like time alignment. That's really where you're trying to get, which is very specific. But those are the things, in my experience, I found, if I don't discuss ahead of time and I hear that there's the issues, I need to, because those are the things that once you could wind up spending so much time fixing stuff and they say, why'd you do it? Like, they don't want that. So you got to discuss this stuff. There's no way around the phone call. If you're not comfortable talking on the phone, get comfortable. If you're not comfortable writing emails and having email etiquette, which is another thing they talk about, which is like everyone needs email etiquette today. You got to be able to communicate respectively, respectfully in an email where you're really, not coming across too harsh. You got to know how you're coming across, what your tone sounds like when it's written. It's very important because you can alienate people and upset them, really tick them off just by what you could have had the best intentions, but if when they read it, it sounds like somebody's yelling at them, or it sounds like an attack, or they're not going to like it. It's not going to go well. So you need to. This is also why, like, just business skills of. This is why being a mixer is so hard. It's why, because there's so much that goes into it. There's so much that's like human related that you can't just be good at twisting the knobs. You need to also be good at communicating, whether it's on the phone or an email or both. And if you are terrible at one, like maybe English isn't your first language and you're dealing with people who, only speak English, but you can communicate on the phone and you can hear where their tone is and you're better at that, then stick with that. But try to get good at the other thing. Really try to get good at whatever you're not good at. But definitely, you can't don't spend, this is a thing I recommend. Don't spend 9 hours on a mix, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours on a mix, and then spend 1 minute when they say anything about it. Like if the artist says anything to you, don't spend 1 minute on that email to them. That email that you send back after they have comments or tweaks or revisions is very important. All the emails you send, you got to put a little time into them to make sure they read right. Check your stuff, read it again. This is like basic business stuff, but it's super important. I know people in business who lost big deals, big, huge deals because they spelled the person's name wrong, because they didn't check what it was. They didn't take that extra minute to make sure they're writing the person's name right. Now this person gets this email that might have been the most heartfelt email, but their name is spelt wrong. And all of a sudden it's like, you don't even care enough about me to get my name right. This could go bad really fast. So that's why all the stuff, attention to detail, super important, but perfection is not the goal. It's never been the goal, and I hope that explains a little bit about this from Manny. All right, hope you dug it. Do me a favor, throw something in the comments. Hit the like button if you dug it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tons more to come. I'll see you guys soon. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You got this. Take it easy.